I entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Amy? Okay. Additional amendments? Ashley?
I move to strike base F.
Okay. Additional amendments?
To strike base record.
Any additional? Rob? Okay. Any additional amendments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, can I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Seconded by Amy. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those opposed? Now those abstaining. The agenda has been approved as amended. Now let's move on to approval of minutes from the previous council meeting. That was August 23rd. Any objections to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, can I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the August 23rd, 2016 council meeting? Ashley?
I move to approve the minutes from August 23rd.
Second? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Okay, all those opposed? Now those abstaining? 1 abstention. To a 7-0-1 vote. The minutes have been approved. Okay, now we'll move into public comment. For our first round of public comment, it will be audio only. And each public comment will be a maximum of 2 minutes for public comment. So we'll go around the room. Public comment. Okay, let's move into our audio and visual round of public comment. Okay. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Now we'll move on to our special presentation by 2 of our council members. So you'll have 15 minutes to present. So Zach and Rocky, if you want to go ahead and whenever you start speaking, I'll begin the time.
So last time I was here to tell you that I would annoy you a lot throughout this quarter about voting. So this is the second time I will annoy you. We're a little frazzled right now because of finals and Vex and RNA. So bear with us. We're going to give you an overview about Bruins Vote. I know there have been a lot of questions about what this coalition is, what the name Bruins Vote entails. So hopefully we'll be able to answer all of those, as well as talk about how you get involved in the next few weeks. Yeah, thanks.
So Bruins Vote for starting this upcoming quarter and now really is a coalition of these different organizations. So we have EVP, Bruin Democrats, Vote for Our Future, Bruin Progressives, CalPERN, CSC, and Bruin Republicans. And these are all different entities that wanted to join the coalition in order to increase the amount of voters within our student population. And I believe we have a good array of organizations involved. CSC particularly sort of worked on Bruins Vote in spring. Some individuals that had worked on the campaign before, a couple of years ago, we worked with them, and so it's kind of like, why is CSC sort of getting involved in this? And it's sort of looking at more of the civic engagement aspect of getting individuals of the community, students here on campus involved, and I think it's a good addition to the entire coalition, as well as these other organizations.
So I'm going to briefly talk about why this is so important to us, given that I spent the last hour writing the submission for the Daily Bruin on why it's important, so that you can read about what I'm talking now. And that is this, is that on this year's ballot, there are 17 California ballot initiatives. Everything from ammunition, background checks on gun control, to the death penalty, to legalization of marijuana, to plastic bag bans, to taxes on cigarettes. These are all really, really big things. That's at the state level. At the local level, we have affordable housing, we have public transportation, and then we have a U.S. Senate seat, and that's all in addition to stuff that we usually have in elections. So that's just like on top of it, and that's not even including the presidential election, which we all know is a very big deal. And so these are some of the things that are at stake on this year's election, on this year's ballot. And if you actually look at the numbers in past years on what these initiatives come down to, it's often 100,000 votes on a statewide ballot initiative. That means that the students that we, as a system of UC schools, register could decide whether these things pass or not, which is a really, really big deal. And to put things a little bit more into perspective, a congressman could win office with 150,000 votes, for example. That might be a normal range. That means that if every student and faculty and staff member at UCLA voted, we could walk into our Congressman Ted Lieu's office and say this is what we want, and say we want a meeting, and we would be guaranteed a meeting. And that's not something that a congressman would question, because people in office act based on re-election and based on election and how many people are voting for them. And so I'm going to kind of finish up this this effort to persuade you by putting the big cherry on top, the most important part of all of this, and that is the future of the University of California. In 2018, we're going to be electing a new governor, and most people, that understand California's $200 billion budget, almost $200 billion, know that the governor of our state is the person who has the most sway over where that money is going. And right now, we don't have a governor that supports funding for the University of California. So the future of tuition, and whether tuition will continue to rise, or whether the state will continue to fund us per student at a rate that is much lower than it was for our parents, rests on who that governor is in 2018. And if that race were held today, the governor would not be stopping at UCLA. The governor would not be stopping at many schools. The governor would not the candidates for governor would not be talking about higher education or funding for the UC. They would be talking about competitiveness at UC. They would be talking about out-of-state students, and if they're getting it over in-state students. Why is that? Because parents are voting, and parents are upset about that. Students are upset about tuition, and housing, and hunger. And these problems will not be addressed unless we turn out to vote. And that's why this is such a big effort that is going to be the focus of my office, and I hope others, and all these different organizations in the next couple of months. Do you want to talk about some of these?
Yeah, go for it. No, go for it.
So I'll give you, with that said, I'll give you kind of our approach to voter registration this year. We have this incredible thing where there is no easier place in the United States to get people registered to vote. Old people, it is hard to register to vote because they're either already registered or they're in their homes or at work. Where do you go? The grocery stores get people to vote while they're in line waiting. You could try that, but there's no easier place to get numbers of voters than there is at school, where people are everywhere. There's a lot of events going on. And not only that, but most people here are not registered and will not vote if we do not act. So the leadership that we're taking on this issue has a direct impact that you can clearly show affects the election outcome. And my sort of idea is we're taking a really big fishing net with some holes in it, and we're just going to sweep over this entire school for a month and see how many voters we can get from all different angles. Nothing is off limits, and hope that those holes are not too big. So a few different things that the EVP office is focusing on. The way it's working is, as you all know, co-programming with other offices and other clubs can be very difficult because of communication. So the way we're doing it is that different orgs that are members of this coalition are taking responsibility for different events and different projects. So Vote for Our Future is an org that is in charge of dorm storming on the Hill. It's a huge effort. EVP is going to be in charge of Turnout Tuesdays. We're going to be having these big festivals in Bruin Plaza every Tuesday, weeks 1 through 4 of the fall quarter that are going to be super fun. We'll have mock ballot boxes, voter registration, food, etc. there. We're also going to be doing campus board engagement, which means that with our pool of 150 plus volunteers, we will show up to any organization on campus to their meetings. We will talk, we will register voters, anything that we can do that an organization will allow us to do just to support them and get their members registered, we'll do that. We're also going to have a lot of social media and promotions planned as well.
Yeah, and another thing that we're doing that's a big change this year is, along with my role in CSC, I as well sit on the board for the Volunteer Center. So this year during Volunteer Day, in that lovely line that we all remember out on the field as we're getting on the bus, we are registering voters and first years there now in that line. So immediately first years are going to get exposed to that, to registering to vote and the process, and that's a fast, efficient way to be able to do that, considering it doesn't take that long to actually go through the process. So, starting early, starting immediately, this is going into effect and taking place.
And also, there's different ways you can strategize and try to make, different events are better than others, but our success with this is largely going to be how many people do we have working on this? How many volunteers are at that volunteer day line, right? That will directly impact how many people are registered to vote. And that's why we're presenting here to you is that we need this to be a student government effort and not an EVP effort, not a CSC effort. Voter registration is one thing that those who don't believe in student government believe student government can do and do well. It is the basis of our legitimacy in so much of the other work that we do during the year. And that's why we need all of your support on this. So, these are a few of the other events. We're looking to be we brainstorm everywhere we could possibly be, from the tailgates at football games to the textbook lines in Ackerman to Strathmore and Gailey on Thursday nights. Literally, we are open to wherever people are going to be, and wherever people are willing to work and volunteer. So if you have, a niche that you're interested in pursuing, we are open to it. Cool. So in terms of right now, on Thursday at midnight, the Bruins Vote member application, we're calling it an application. It's really open to anyone. And we're not turning people away. It's going to close on Thursday at midnight. Anything you can do to get people to sign up for that is huge. We need over 150 volunteers for all these events. The way it's going to work is we're going to have a volunteer pool of all of those people who are ready to work and committed to working at 4 or more events during the course of the campaign season. And that will allow us to have 12 different events every single week, weeks 1 to 4, through the middle of 5th week. And if you have an event, or a club meeting, we can easily send people there to register people. And that's why it's really, really important that we do everything we can to promote this sort of Bruins Vote committee. The idea is, instead of volunteering on an event-by-event basis, people are more invested in what we're doing. They really feel like they're making a difference in this election, which they are. And that is open right now on bruinsvote.com. We are also very connected with UCLA Government and Community Relations, UCLA Housing, UCLA Athletics, and the Chancellor's Office. So if you have any ideas, they are all very eager to support us on these efforts, and we can make it happen.
No, something that, Rafi had talked about is just sort of making this, getting your office involved. And I remember last year, there wasn't much of an initiative that council sort of took on at all throughout the course of the year. And I don't know if this is something, whether to take on, maybe not as a yearly thing, but maybe as a quarterly thing for fall quarter, making this like a council initiative, something we can discuss once, everyone's back from summer and stuff. I think might be worth pursuing, just because, this will really be impactful. The first 5 weeks of school, we're out here doing this. So, it's the first time I think CSC and EVP have partnered in a long time. There's just a lot of potential to, make this sort of a united front, and it'll kind of emphasize to the student body the importance of this. I think it'll be cool.
So are there any questions about the Bruins vote or anything about this election that we can answer? Yes.
Hasn't there been a competition between the other UCs?
Yes.
And have
So
we ever won?
we've never won because Santa Barbara has the best voter turnout in the United States. They actually have over 80% student voter turnout. And I've met with them to talk about how do you do it, and the answer is get a lot of people involved. So here we are presenting to you all about that. We're actually going to be competing with USC as well. Every single week we're going to be updating our numbers. We're working to get a big thermometer on Bruin Plaza, like with our weekly standings, so that we can make this a sort of competitive.
We've come close, right?
Say
Maybe
UCSD.
No, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll definitely be competing with other UCs too. This is like a UCSA live effort, so they're here to help us with that as well. Yes.
I have two questions. The first, in regards to council helping out with this cause and being active, is that I think all of us have to, or most of us have to campaign and reach out to a lot of different student groups. On that note, do you have any PowerPoints or pamphlets, any publicity thing that we can just forward on to all the people that we know?
Yes, so we have 2 or 3 different people who are working on student org outreach. If there are any orgs that you're all close with, if you can connect me with them, that would be best. I'd really like to talk to them personally, make sure that we can be there to suit them for their needs. But we do have a bunch of different things we can present in terms of how we can help them, whether it's sending out an email to their members that we have pre-written, or showing up at events or meetings. There's a lot of room for that.
Mm-hmm. I think it'd be great if we could get an email sent out with like
Yes.
pamphlet attachments or anything.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
And we're also going to be preparing a lot of material about the different initiatives. And I could go through all your platforms, and I guarantee you there is something on this ballot that is connected to one of your platforms. For every single one of these. So we can connect it to the work that you're already doing as well.
And the second thing, I think it's really amazing that you managed to collab with Bruin Democrats, Bruin Progressive, Bruin Republicans, who all represent sort of different stances. How is like, did they all decide to be non-partial or like biased in helping their voting?
So, do you want to use this?
Yeah, so in terms of the coalition, it is very clear, and it's something we've discussed, that the campaign itself, you know, at the end of the day, we're here to register voters, right? And when doing that, you know, whenever we meet, you know, a student or someone that's getting, you know, registered to vote, and say they share their political views or something, whether we disagree with them or not, they're registering to vote, and, you know, they're entitled to those views. And right now, it's very, it's emphasized that the coalition is, you know, impartial, nonpartisan. The focus is primarily to get students registered to vote. And yeah, we do have a nice spectrum of views, and not only that, you know, individuals that with those views are the ones, and these organizations are the ones that are really involved in the political sphere, that have a lot of insight. And so we feel that you know, can only help and contribute. And this totally didn't, this is just a pure coincidence, but Dr. Geller up here has her name, I'm so sorry, do you mind if I throw it? She has, wow, I was just watching this and was like, it's like we planned it here. She has all of her I voted stickers on the back of her nameplate. This is the pride we want in this campaign right now.
More stickers. That's what I mean.
That just means you vote.
Tuesday night.
It's awesome. Cool. Are there any other questions? Alrighty, cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just as a last thing, before we move on to our points, you know, as student leaders, we all, being an election year, and especially a presidential year, we really have an incredible opportunity, but I mean, I'd say more of a responsibility to engage in this. And what Rafi and Zach and all these organizations have done is really put together an incredible program, and we need to be as supportive as possible, because we have an opportunity to really, like what they said in their remarks. So please go ahead. I mean, I even said it myself, so all of you should, you know, if you're able to sign up for the Rooms Vote yourself too, encourage all your offices, like they said, and it's really great work, so thank you both. Okay, so now we move on to appointments, beginning with our first appointment. This is to the Campus Programs Committee, the CPC. This is an action item. So before we have our interview with the nominee as a member of ARC, I want to give an overview of the position.
So the CPC oversees funding regarding projects and programs of an educational and or cultural interest of the student body or specific segments of the student body. And they solicit student views on the nature and goals of campus programming, adherence to allocate funds for campus programs, and this is a one-year term. So after interviewing Diana, we were unable to give recommendation just because we don't have a forum on any of the interviews that we were giving last week. But we did note that she has been a part of ACA staff and is a dedicated member of that cultural organization on this campus. And we would also recommend that she learn more of the structure before, or the structure of the committee before beginning, as well as engage with further cultural organizations on campus.
Okay, thank you, ARC. And now we'll bring up a Google Hangout for an interview with Diana. So once I get started, we begin.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm just moving towards the room.
Hi, Diana, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, so now we're gonna begin your interview before the council for the CPC. So you'll begin by having a 1-minute opening, followed by 5 minutes of questions from the council, and then you'll have a 1-minute closing. So go ahead with your opening whenever you're ready.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Diana, and I would like to be on the Campus Programs Committee. I want to do something meaningful that promotes learning and spreads cultural awareness. I personally grew up in a diverse background, coming from a Chinese family, but surrounded in a predominantly Hispanic population. And this has led me to be more open-minded about other populations and other cultural differences. I believe that by being on this committee, I can contribute to my community by broadening our scope through the events which we fund, and hopefully in turn eliminate lessen biases that we have about different cultures. I think that learning in the classroom is great, but honestly, I think we should carry the conversations out further beyond the classroom. And when we have events and programs, people are able to form emotional connections to it, becoming a more memorable and meaningful and valuable experience that they can hopefully connect.
That's your time for your opening statement. Sorry, I couldn't cut you off there. But now.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What?
I'm sorry. That was your 1 minute for your opening. So
Okay.
so I had to cut you off. Now we move into 5 minutes of questions from the council. So if any council members have questions for Diana. Okay, seeing no questions from council, we'll go ahead and move to your 1 minute closing.
Okay. So, over the past year, there have been many police brutality cases where minorities unfortunately have died, and it really pains me to see that, and it is my hope and my vision to promote a greater understanding among different peoples and different communities, because I feel that that's the underlying root cause where people lack the understanding of each other's differences. So, with this position, I hope that it can allocate funds to educational and cultural programs, especially to the youth and college students, where it's better because it's more susceptible for them they're more willing to accept different beliefs and be more understanding about cultures and other people. So I think this is like the perfect opportunity to start instilling such values about understanding.
Okay, thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Okay, now the council will move into its discussion of your appointment. So you can remain on and observe, or you can log off, and then Patty will notify you after the council's appointment.
Okay, thank you.
Are you gonna stay on, or are you gonna log off?
I guess I'll stay, yeah. When I get my phone back, so I know how I can improve.
Sure, okay. So, then we'll go ahead into, discussion. Can I entertain a motion to, approve Diana Chung for the Campus Programs Committee? Ashley?
I move to approve Dana Chung for the Campus Programs Committee.
Second? Second by Sandra. Okay, so moving into discussion. So are there any comments from the council about this appointment?
Just a word of advice, I guess. It really seems like she has the ideas behind what she wants to do and how she wants to do it and why. But more of the structure of this committee, I think, could be learned through experience, and that might be something he might need to do over time. But I can see her definitely getting into the position, and like she knows, because that she knows what she wants, and I feel like that will propel her through whatever struggles she goes through.
Okay, additional comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into a vote. All those in favor of appointing Diana Chung to the Campus Programs Committee, please raise your hand. Okay. I'm sorry, can you count again? Okay. All those opposed? All those abstaining? To a 7-0-0 vote, Diana has been approved. Congratulations. Okay. Council, move on to our next appointment for tonight. This will be the office space allocation chairperson. So, do either member of ARC here would like to give an overview of the position and then a recommendation of ARC approval?
Okay, so the Office Space Allocation Committee, or OSAC, is constituted to oversee and administer the periodic reallocation of organizational space within Kirkhoff Hall. So it governs how organizations receive office, locker, and mailbox spaces, and they oversee the administration of the Kirkhoff office space. So after interviewing Jennifer, we saw that she had a lot of logistical experience, as well as very good focus on the importance of continuing the history and values of USAClive for campus organizations that do reside in Kirkhoff. And with that, we should be for this position.
Okay, thank you, ARC. Now move into our interview. So, can I invite up Jennifer? She's here. Okay. You want to come to the front, and then just you can sit right there, just so you can see everyone. And so now we'll move into the interview. You'll have a 1-minute opening, followed by 5 minutes of questions from the council, and then I will close. So let me just get my phone out and go ahead and start your opening whenever you're ready.
All right. Hi, I'm Jennifer Back. I'm a second year science major. I heard about this position through Brian. I feel like I'd be a good candidate for this position because I'm organized, which is exemplified in my work with Western Enablers, being part of the publishing staff, making sure we publish on a bi-monthly schedule. I also have leadership qualities, which is exemplified through my work as head specialist, reading in session 1, where I organize rotation schedules on a daily basis with campers and specialists. My vision for the upcoming year for this position is to expand publicity for the application process for this for allocating space, we need a more diverse applicant pool. And I'd just like to thank Danny and his office for nominating me for this position. That's what I have for the intro.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move into 5 minutes of questions from the council. So, do we have any questions from council members for Jen? Amy?
So in your intro, you said that you were looking to expand to ensure that there's more diverse applicant pool. Can you define for me what diverse looks like to you? The campus has a lot of organizations that have a lot of focuses on the campus, so I want to expand social media so people are more aware that this is an application that you can apply for and an office-based organization. So I feel like just being able to expand that way and getting more people to know about that there's an application for these offices would make it applicant pool more diverse in that way, just so more organizations know about it.
Okay, additional questions from council? Okay, seeing none, we'll end our questioning, and now you'll have a moment of closing.
I think this position is valuable for campus because all organizations need a place to be able to meet and organize for the longevity of the organization as a whole. So it's an honor and a privilege to be nominated for this position to help facilitate and allocate spaces for organizations on campus.
Okay, thank you. And now the council moves into discussion, so you can go ahead and sit there and take a seat, or you can step outside if you need more comfortable. Okay? And we'll go ahead and move into discussion. Council can entertain a motion to approve Jennifer Harbeck for the office space allocation chairperson. Andrew?
I move to approve Jennifer Harbeck for the office space allocation chairperson.
Okay, second from the council. Second by Rafi. Okay, then we'll move into discussion. Are there any points, comments from the council? Jen?
Having worked with Jen in the Sustain Our Students UCSA campaign for food and housing insecurity, I think she proved to be an impartial resource for our campus, and I think she would fit this position very well.
Okay, thank you. Additional comments from council? Amy?
I enjoyed the interview. I would say the one constructive criticism is because space in itself is so limited on this campus, there needs to be a broader knowledge of what that space can encompass, and the fact that it can encompass all students, and then coming up with a game plan to essentially ensure that all students are attended to, that all students feel like they have accessibility to the space. One part of her response I did enjoy was that she was saying that she recognized that, it's just a matter of having more of a plan. So that's the constructive.
Thank you. Additional comments from council? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into a vote. All those in favor of approving Jennifer Harbeck for the office space allocation chairperson, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those abstaining? To a 7-0-0 vote, Jen has been approved. Congrats. Thank you, council. Moving to our next appointment. All the remaining appointments are consent items, just for your information. So first will be the student conduct committee. So does ARC want to give an overview of this position?
The student conduct committee provides hearings for all cases referred to it under the student conduct code, and this is an up to a 3-year term. I don't know.
After making an interview with Manila, we tried the experience in the code and student students federal policies, although he doesn't have an market for she has a good grasp of what students can and do in
terms of conduct, what disciplinary actions will be taken if they do violate those rules, and she's very, she holds the true group values very strongly and would like to apply to the student body in a way where she can apply justice fairly and across her this and fairly. She, after her interview, she seemed well qualified and motivated for this position. We can give her recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Now, since this is a consent item, yeah, we'll go ahead and approve, Marvella, Abelos to the student conduct committee by consent. So unless there are any objections, seeing none, we have approved, Marvella Abelos to the student conduct committee by consent. Thank you, council. Move on to our, next appointment. We have two appointees to the sustainability committee. So before we jump into each candidate, does anyone give an overview of the sustainability committee?
So the campus sustainability committee works with the university faculty and staff to develop and to advance environmental sustainability in education, research, operations, and community service activities at UCLA. They will also oversee and advise the integration of sustainability principles in campus design and construction design, in future facilities. Okay, so we were unable to interview, so we weren't able to interview Eleanor, who is the first appointment.
Wait,
We didn't interview Sophie. We interviewed. Do you want to?
So after interviewing her, she seemed very knowledgeable about the structure of this committee, although there wasn't very much information. She heard about the position from Sandra and was interested in the past. I've worked with her and SWC her, and we're both directors in that. She is very passionate about the events that we put on, whether it was Earth Day, whether it was small things, like spreading the word about sustainability. She's very passionate about the marketing aspect of it. She's involved in the sustainability component of her sorority. Everything she's been involved in since her freshman year has been geared towards that, and Andrea is very qualified and motivated person for this position.
Okay, thank you. This is also a consent item, so unless there are any objections, seeing none, we hereby approve Eleanor Hunt to the sustainability committee by consent. Thank you. And now our second candidate for the sustainability committee, Sophie Butler. Does ARC have any comments for Sophie? Okay, seeing none, this is also a consent item as before, so unless there are any objections, seeing none, council has approved Sophie Butler to the sustainability committee by consent. Thank you, council. We'll move on to our next appointment. This is for the USAC internship engagement chair. This is a brand new appointment, so exciting. Does ARC want to give an overview of the position?
So this appointment serves to provide UCLA students access to the Bruin Alumni Network to gain work experience in various fields of their interest. It's required to appear. The selected appointee will serve in this position for the duration of the academic year and will be responsible for recruiting their own committee. They'll also work together with the UCLA Career Center, UCLA Office of Alumni, various Center for Community Learning and Center for American Politics to work with the current UCLA students and
give them internship opportunities, including but not limited to and our point, our point B is Jack Will. We tried several times to get an interview with him, but he's in China, and we tried 3 different video chats, but none of them worked completely, so we don't have an interview.
Okay. Thank you, ARC. And as before, council, we had the opportunity to review the credentials for Jack, and that's it's provided to all appointments. So unless there are any objections, this is a consent item. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and approve Jack Lowe to the USAC Internship Engagement Chair by consent. Thank you. Now we move on to our next office. We have 2 candidates. This is to the John Wooden Center Board of Governors. I believe we've done it before, but I still think it'd be beneficial to have ARC do a recap of the John Wooden Center Board and their responsibilities.
Okay. So the Wooden Center Board of Governors serves as the formal policy committee for the John Wooden Center. Roles include general operational issues and policies, bond-related maintenance allocations, determination and annual review of fiscal and management operations, annual review of approval and equipment maintenance expenditures, and a lot more. This is a 1-year or 2-year term. So this first appointment is our 1-year alternate, and his name was Leo. You're able to see that he was very focused on diversity and accessibility, very passionate about dance, and because of that, he offered a unique perspective, but we would also recommend that he make sure that his focuses don't solely lie there. He seemed to learning, had good media background that would offer the Board of Governors more communication with the student body.
Okay, thank you, ARC. This is also a consent item for your information. So, are there any objections to the appointment of Leopoldo? Seeing none, Leopoldo Alvea has been appointed as a 1-year alternate to the John Wooden Center Board of Governors. Move on to our second appointment for this position, Jade Allison Robles. Does ARC have any comment?
Jade did not interview with us. She said that she had nothing she would add to her previous interview. So we do.
Okay. Then that being said, get a chance to review the candidate's credentials and have that information due to their availability. So this is also a consent item. Unless there are any objections from the council. Seeing none, we have approved Jade Allison Robles to the John Wooden Center Board of Governors. Thank you, ARC and council.
Danny, is this a 1-year or 2-year appointment? For Jade?
For Jade, it's a 1-year appointment. Okay.
Okay.
It's a 1-year.
And, at any point during the interview process, did anyone talk to her about, time management and being able to balance multiple priorities?
The ARC director, so she was not able to do an interview with ARC.
Did she interview with anyone?
She interviewed my appointment directors, and they forwarded her on to council. So that was a topic of discussion. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we got the order. Now we move on to our last appointment for tonight. This is to the Committee on Disability. So before we jump into the candidate, I think Harrison will give an overview of the position.
So this committee was established in 1982 as an advisory group by the Chancellor, and it's comprised of students, faculty, staff, alumni of the USAClive community. And their term is to analyze and identify problems, propose solutions, and make recommendations on matters of particular concern to persons with disabilities. This is a staggered 2-year term, and we did interview with Lisa, and she seemed very knowledgeable on how to advocate for students with disabilities. She's very passionate and dedicated, as well as experienced in identifying needs on campus. We would also recommend learning more about this committee structure, but they are focused to do on this committee.
Okay, thank you, ARC. So for the is appointment of Miso Kwok to the Committee on Disabilities. This is a consent item as well. So, are there any objections from the council? Seeing none, we have approved Miso Kwok to the Committee on Disability by consent.
Quick question. How do we, so I think I've been to a John Wooden Center Board of Governors meeting before, and I didn't see a rep. It might have been for that meeting or a different meeting, but who keeps these representatives or appointments accountable for attending meetings?
Well, the meetings themselves, that's a function of the committee, but my office plans to, over the course of the year, since the school starts, to have a really robust program to bring attention to all the appointments and what they're doing about, so that members of the community can reach out to them to talk about different issues. So you have all their relevant information so that they are, fulfilling their responsibilities. So that's something that we plan to undertake over the course of the year. It's going to be a year-long process.
Okay, so your office sort of oversees all the appointments that
Well, we're ensuring, since, these are the student voices in all these different capacities on campus, so since they were appointed by the office of the president and confirmed by council, it's kind of, our responsibility that to ensure that, they're representing students to the best of their ability. Sure. Okay, and with that, that concludes all of our appointments for this evening. Now I'll move into officer member reports, starting with myself, the president. So the last 2 weeks, I was able to sit down with my graduate student, President Cabinet, Dr. Michael Stiles, as well as with Sandra, who phoned in. And she'll go into more details on this, but we met with Roy Chamberlain, director of the union, to talk about different ways ASUCLive can recycle their leftover food in an effort to really promote sustainable living on campus. And I'll leave it at that and let Sandra go into more details on that. Additionally, really potentially exciting news. I sat down with the representative from Under Armour, who recently signed a deal with our athletics organization to really, bring potential revenues. But I was really wanting to kind of go fact-finding about how this can come back to students. So we're in preliminary talks to see if student apparel can be augmented by Under Armour in any way for our 1,100 plus student groups. So I'll keep you updated if that's going to be a possibility, but some potentially exciting news on the horizon with that. Additionally, I met with the new president for the Alumni Association Board of Directors, Christine Simmons. She's also the CEO and the COO and president of the Los Angeles Sparks. Los Angeles is the NBA team. Really excited how she wants to engage students on campus. We talked about different ways the Alumni Association can collaborate on matters of really between their diversity networks that they have within the Alumni Association, our students, as well as career engagement for postgraduate life. So some potential collaboration between USAC and the Alumni Association on the way. In addition to that, the Campus Safety Task Force, which I described before, after the shooting on campus June 1st, we held our community forum, a public forum where any member of the campus community could come and give recommendations to what the report that our committee is creating to submit to the chancellor should include. That was held in the James West Alumni Center last week. So we had well over 50, 100 members of the community attend that and voice their concerns. So that was really great to get a lot of feedback. And we'll be having the report ready sometime in mid-September. And when that report is released, it'll be sure to circulate it to all of council. And if you have questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me. Additionally, I met with representatives from UCLA Parents Weekend. We're really excited to see that they wanted to have USAC participate in that. And I was present to speak at that engagement, also that USAC as a whole really, show, all our, especially first and transfer students, the UCLA experience when parents come onto campus to really talk about the different facets of student life. So that's an exciting opportunity for us to be engaged in. And lastly, I sent you all an email, I believe last evening about an event that my office is planning, the International Students Forum. I have a compartment in my office called the USAC Committee on International Relations, and it's an attempt to really engage our 3,700 approximately 3,700 international students that are undergraduates at UCLA. So we're invited the leaderships from a lot of different organizations around campus, as well as leadership from student affairs. Our dean of students, Maria Blandese, will be in attendance to come together. This is going to be at the end of first or second week, I believe. And it's a great way to kick off our committee. So if you're interested in participating and, aiding in our efforts to engage international students on our campus, I'd love to have your involvement in that. And that concludes my officer member report. Any questions from council? Okay. We move on to external vice president.
So most of what I've been working on is related to room vote, because again, that's my top priority right now. And I went over most of that, but I've also been organizing a lot of meetings with different students from all different student groups on campus, as well as different administrators in programs like AAP or CAP Center. The idea really is that EDP is going to offer all different student groups a lot this year in terms of advocacy, whether it's financial support, connections with other administrators that can help them advocate, or just simply help learning what's going on for the issues that they care about and what they can do about them. There are a lot of election-related events going on over the next couple of months, especially programmed by USACLive Government Community Relations. Today I went with a couple of staff members to a lunch with Loretta Sanchez, who's running for U.S. Senate against Kamala Harris. They're going to be having a debate in UCLA in October. There will be so many different opportunities. If you're interested in the election, you get involved. And you can go to these public forums and ask questions about anything you care about. My organizing director, Kevin, put together an incredible website and email newsletter. So I encourage you to sign up at UCLAEVP.com for our newsletter, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities for everything throughout the year.
Okay, thank you, Rafi. That concludes our report from the external vice president. The academic affairs commissioner.
So, a couple of updates, just a bit of a heads up. I just want to give a shout out to the peeps at ARC and kind of started sending my academic appointments, any of these approved by council. There's about 8 of them, but I'm looking towards doing them probably 0 weeks. I'm not sure if I'll be here next week or not, but there's also quite a few consent ones, so I'll spread them throughout early fall quarter, just because I want to keep your time in mind as well as fall quarter classes start happening. Regarding that, I'm working with my director of appointments, Miranda Baker, who's been kind of handling, gathering all the resumes and prepping them for, the standards that all appointments should have in terms of, being transparent and coming back and telling not only the commission, but also anyone who's interested in what's going on at the meetings. And, we'll go ahead and, keep having those updates regarding appointments. On another note, I don't know if you all remember Lindy Comstock, who came and talked to us at our first summer meeting. She was from GSA, and she talked about the partnership for USAC and GSA TA-ship. So I reached out to her. It was pretty interesting regarding, again, her progress on USAC's stance of a joint position regarding, over-enrollment in terms of undergraduates. I got off the phone with David Bruin today, actually, about the stance of 800 freshmen actually being over-enrolled, as well as class sizes, and if TAs should be increased, or whether just discussion sections should also be increased. So I'm in talks with her, trying to set up a meeting with GSA to see what we can do in terms of creating a joint position on this issue, and other offices, if they would like to collaborate. We're more than happy to kind of join forces and work together on this survey, and that she had mentioned, but see any other opportunities that we can kind of partnership on this issue.
I would just add one sort of comment, actually.
Right.
When you talk about this stance, you might want to consider, if you think a resolution is appropriate, that might be something that you want to consider in the future on this issue. So something to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, we move on to our administrative representatives. So we'll start with
As mentioned, I sent an email, but I will stick to it next week. I promise I didn't pop out. Thanks for the heads up, Danny. But next week I'd love to bring you guys food, and if you, as I mentioned, if you have any events, I can work something out. If you have any sort of budget at all for doing or something like that, please let me know.
Great.
Just a couple things, parking permits, I have them here, there's not many names on the list so far, these are fall quarter, so, you'll have access to lot yellow, lot 4 yellow and lot 4 blue permits, as well as lot 5 yellow permits. The difference between yellow and blue is blue, a little more expensive, but you can park in any numbered lot, and the blue spaces throughout the day, with the exception of some of the in-parking lettered lots, and I read all the rules. And then for lot 4 yellows, or lot 5 yellows, after 4:30 p.m., you can park in any of the numbered lots around campus, with just in the evening time. Just keep that in mind, and then you pick up the forms from my office, or you can come for me tonight if you've been signed onto the list, but there's only a couple of these on here for, this week. Oh, and I will be out all next week, so if you need anything, please reach out tomorrow or Thursday, so I can make sure you get everything done. And then that you need beforehand, especially CC and CAC, because I want to make sure that I have everything that you need and working closely.
And also, just one note on the parking passes to clarify for council, I wanted to give it as a period for council members themselves to see if they wanted to have a parking pass, and then after an indeterminate amount of time, I wanted to have a chance for, if you have office staff or folks who you wanted to assign parking passes for. And as I said yesterday, starting tonight, like a few of you already sent me names that you'd like from your offices and other people, so I'll be adding their names to the list, so just to have that information.
Question two, I know Brian emailed you, but I would also be interested in pursuing an Adobe Creative subscription, or I don't know how software licensing works.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that we can look into, to see if you want to make that purchase for your office by itself, or if you want it to be a council-wide purchase, and have some discretionary fees, something you have a little discretionary, I'm not sure what the price, point is to that subscription.
Do you all, I mean, because you all have graphics, and the people, who has Adobe? Or did you just, did people buy it around in your offices?
Graphic designer.
They just already have it.
Yeah.
My office is better.
Could we
So
should
if
have
you'd
a
like to
graphics.
make a purchase as council-wide, you definitely need to discuss what your options are.
Okay.
So, sorry about it.
Yeah, I just assume UCLA. Licensing.
Or you might purchase.
I can look into it, when I didn't buy it for like your one I had. We had to buy it for our office.
Is it not already in the computer one?
We have it, we have one of the computers that has it, I believe. I'll have to check the 10.
Okay,
But
well.
yeah, but it's something we can look into, if it's
Yeah.
a purchase you like to make, you can either use your own student group funds, or we can have a vote and spend discretionary.
Okay. And that concludes our administrative reports. And now we're on to the Student Loans Commissioner.
Okay, so, over this past week, I was able to meet with Rena Ornstein, who's the Health Education and Health Promotion Director at the Ash Center, and we talked a little bit about how SWC and Ash can work together this year, as well as how we can expand on sexual health education, and also how we can reintegrate our student health advocates, which is a committee within SWC, back onto the Hill as a function of education within wrestling. And then I was also able to meet with Kathleen Selvati, I think, if I'm pronouncing her name wrong, but she's the Title IX coordinator on campus here, and we talked about what the January policy change means for all of us as UCLA employees, and she expressed an interest in wanting to come and talk about it with us, as well as perhaps initiating a USAC-wide training for the care education. And then we also talked about potentially focusing on domestic and dating violence this year, as well as other opportunities for continuing education, because after your first year here, you're mostly reliant on student organizations to continue awareness for victims of sexual assault and also resources on campus. Besides that, I'll also be meeting briefly this week with the Healthy Campus Initiatives Steering Committee meeting.
as well as with the Ash Center to begin to sort of wrap up our plans to implement the system of the Ash Center where we are able to provide free feminine hygiene products in a reliable and visible manner. So if you have any questions, feel free to send them my way, but that's it.
Okay, thank you for your report, and now I'll ask a report from the Facilities Commissioner.
Alrighty, so we have sustainability, safety, student resources, and policy. Starting off with sustainability. After our talk with Roy from USACLive, I urge you all to keep your eyes open for how much food we actually waste on our campus. I have friends who work for Kirkhoff Coffee House, and at the end of the day, they will throw away their good food because it is expired. And that very much makes sense, but I think as council members, we should be very aware of how our campus is running, and if there's anything we can do to change it. So that's food waste, something that I'm always working on. Next, if you saw the Daily Bruin, our towel service for Wooden is not going to be canceled. It's going to be continued. And to give you sort of an estimate of how much we're not going to be saving money anymore, saving any water, canceling the towel service was going to save us around 430,000 gallons of water, and now that service is still being continued. And so I understand that that service is very important to especially commuter students, and people who can't wash their towels that often, or it's extremely inefficient for them. But we have to save the water in other ways, and those solutions haven't been talked about yet. We're getting solar phone chargers for Sunset Recreation, and that was approved through TGIF. And so we're hoping to start a rental service of solar phone chargers at Sunset Rec. You can rent it out just as you would rent out any sort of basketball or sports equipment. We're trying to get solar umbrellas in Wooden as well. I'm in the process of writing TGIF applications for that. In regards to Bruin's vote, I would like to offer the connection of Green Council. I sit on Green Council who are the sustainability leaders. If you haven't reached out to sustainability leaders yet, one tiny thing that I caught was that plastic bags would be banned. That's one of the statewide actions. And so I think that alone would interest a lot of sustainability leaders here. So I just wanted to mention that. Safety, I don't have any updates this week. Student resources, food for finals is well on way. So 10th week of fall quarter, we plan to have just free food for all students. And policy things. I was accepted to be the student advocate to the regents. So for the UC Regent meeting, September 14th to 15th, I will be given time to give public comment. So if anyone has any exceptional things they would like me to talk about, I would be happy to listen. I also plan to speak at the UCSA board meeting September 10th, thanks to Rafi giving me the opportunity to. So I'm excited for that. And then lastly, I was going to hope that Zach was here, but you are here, which is great. We're working on the election code. So I wanted to convene the Constitutional Review Committee to make some adjustments to the election code in regards to ballot propositions, and them not being explained at all very well in our current documents. So yeah, that's my last.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you for bringing it up. Yes, next week the Regents are meeting at UCLA. Ever since we stopped them from getting to their cars during the Tuition Hike protest in 2009, they no longer come to other UC campuses, so this is a rare opportunity. Everyone can give a public comment if you want to. You have to call Ann Shaw, the Secretary of the Board of Regents, this week, but you can go into the Luskin Center and you're welcome to speak to the Regents. So if you have any message, I would highly encourage you to take up this opportunity and talk to Sandra about the work that she's doing.
Okay, and that concludes our appointments. I'll move on to our of course, move on to our contingency or our fund allocations, and I believe contingency programs are only one.
Okay, so, we are recommending funds for 15 programs this week, for a total required of $12,033.48, total requested of $6,902.63, and total recommended was $3,195.
Okay, so, then can I entertain a motion to approve this allocation? Yeah.
Move to approve the allocation of $3,195.
Okay, second? Seconded by, our student wellness commissioner, all those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, okay, 7. Okay, all those opposed? And all those abstaining? The contingency allocation has been approved. Thank you, council, and now we have no old business, and I guess we have new business. So we, want to talk about that, the changes to SUF and POD applications for fall 2016.
Hey, hi everyone. So my name is Bethany, and I'm the interim budget review director. So I'm here to propose some changes to SUP. So I'm primarily in charge of SUP and DOD, and so I'm just gonna pass the forms that I printed out to provide a visual aid. Okay, so over the summer, I've been looking through evaluation forms and also emails in order to see common problems and sources of confusion that student leaders had when it came to applying for SUP. So I created a new form using the trends that I saw. And some of the changes that you can see are that I added some application guidelines. Just some basic information, but even just basic information, I get a lot of, in the past, with the budget review director has gotten a lot of questions for. So like, one of the main problems is that people don't know that the application process is a completely different process from like accessing the money itself. So I just wanted to clarify it right there. I also added more information when it came to the line items, because another source of confusion was once the funds were actually allocated, some student leaders would use it for things that they aren't approved for, and then because of that confusion, they would have to end up paying out of pocket. Yeah, that's another. I just wanted to add it in there because in the past it was just blank.
So just to clarify, so you added all this information?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I also added the student rep 1, 2, 3 because in the old form, it only had the applicant's information, but according to the guidelines, you're supposed to have 3 representatives from the student org, so that was a minor change. This one is actually, sorry, this is a mistake. This is an earlier revised form, but we should get on here. And then I just changed the wording of the question so that it's less redundant. Because I was also a financial officer for other organizations, so I'm not Filipino. And then when I was applying for SUP, I just thought that it asked like, explain your group's history, and it kind of, my answer for the third question, which is provide your organization's mission, it kind of like, they just went together. So I just simplified the question. And then, these are just aesthetic changes. And then the last changes would have to be at the end. To the budget total. So if you look at the old form, it would ask you where did you apply for your funding sources, did you get any fundraising, and for all of the line items, and it doesn't make sense to add that because this is an operational fund. So, that was a standard that's used to judge how prepared an organization is when it comes to planning an event. So they apply to other funding sources, but it doesn't make sense for an operational fund. So I just took it out. And then I also just added a note, last week saying that eligible student organizations typically receive less than $300 because I wanted to be more transparent and I didn't want student orgs to put in a lot of work and then see that they didn't receive as much money as they were planning to. So those are all the changes. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But one thing, keeping in mind for these changes is the biggest problem is the deadline for SOOP is September 30th. So that's the biggest concern that I have since it's coming up. And I know that some student orgs have already filled it out. But I think it's justified, the changes that I'm making are justified in that it will prevent student orgs from being confused. It'll help streamline the process. And it will prevent them from not being able to access the money that they're allocated or using their own money. So I think it's doing like a cost benefit analysis is kind of worth it for people who already work on the application now to just like copy and paste it to the new one.
Okay. Were there any questions? Since this is just a discussion item.
Oh, it's an action.
It's an action item?
Yeah, so we'll be voting on.
Oh, so we have to vote, okay. Then can I entertain a motion to approve the change in guidelines for SOOP?
I move to approve the new updated SOOP
And VOD?
and DOD application.
Oh, actually, this one changes.
Okay, so let me see.
I move to approve the SOOP updated application guidelines.
Okay, second. You want Ashley? So we move into discussion. Are there any points from the council? Yeah.
So, I get why you're not changing the total because other groups have already applied.
Oh, no, you can apply for 8,000 because this is used, it's used in the calculation to determine how much is allocated. So we just take a percentage of the amount that they put. Yeah.
Then I know we've added, new changing the cap.
Yeah, I feel like it's, instead of, I think if I wanted to change the cap, I would have to change the guideline, which is a different process. So since it just plays out in reality,
Yeah.
you don't really need to establish.
And then adding the notice.
Yeah, I just want them to be have more realistic expectations.
And then students that are filled out an application,
I
they
checked,
can just keep the same old one?
I checked and no one has submitted it.
No one submitted.
Yeah, no one submitted it yet. And if they do, I think I'm going to ask them to, create a new one. Yeah, to update it, because all they have to do is copy.
Okay, are there any points of discussion from the council? Okay, seeing none, then we'll go ahead into a vote. All those in favor of approving the changes to the SOOP application for the fall 2016, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those opposed? And all those abstaining? 7-0-0 vote. We have approved the changes to SOOP guidelines. Thank you. So now we will, that concludes our new business and move into announcements. Just as a reminder, we have the living document for announcements that our USAC Publicity Chair publishes. In fact, I'll reach out to her to have her circulate that to you again. That was created to sort of expedite this part of the meeting so that announcements can be online, they can be permanent rather than just at the meeting. It's more available and it's on the USAC website as well. But in the meantime, are there any announcements? Okay, seeing none, move into the signing of the attendance sheet, and I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:16 p.m. Second? Second by Rafi. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those opposed, and all those abstaining, 7-0 vote. Council is going to adjourn at 8:16. Now we'll conclude with our. Yeah, can someone go ahead and turn off the USACLive? You just have to close it. And we will conclude with building welfare.